Bleh. Same old animations and elemental effects. They just stare at each other blankly and shoot particle effects on a flat plane. I just want to see something more lively and natural, you know? Like Pokemon in their natural habitat. Like if they existed in real life. There must be something that technology can provide. Oh, internet, help me. God. Oh, here we go. Pokemon Go. A simulated Pokemon experience where you go and find them out in our own real world. Oh, this will get me exercise and give me lots of natural Pokemon movements and habitats. Oh, hell yeah. Let's go. Oh, yeah. So many trees. Where is this? I mean, it's just a Magikarp, but it's a shiny one. Oh, well, I'll just keep following my phone map. Phones are always 100% accurate. Yeah, I think I just have to walk 10 more feet forward this way and... My back! I mean, who's really into Pokemon that much anymore, right? I've got much safer cliffsides right here. This game gives you the chance to relax and see multiple Pokemon from many different habitats, all in a quick amount of time. And they actually talk! The only Pokemon game with monster voices! And it's 25 years old! That's one of the reasons why Pokemon Snap still deserves some love today. Wow, I'm at over 50 Pokemon now, 6 stages in. I can't wait until I catch them all.
Yes.
At least 150 or more to see. To be a Pokemon master is my destiny. Oh, Jesus, Murphy! That's Mew! It's Mew! I found the rarest Pokemon of all! And... this is very boring, to be honest. But I'm sure there'll be more to come.
See you.
Huh? The game's done already? Well, I'm not even half done the Pokédex yet, so I bet there's tons of secret stages or locations.
You made it.
But I've already got 58, so 58 plus 5 equals 63? That's it? My God! There must be some hidden ones, though. Where is Mewtwo? I've been through these 2-minute-long stages so many times that now I'm just taking random pictures of the environment, like these crystals. Wait, what? Those crystals make Mewtwo? That nondescript lens flare silhouette? That's what they included for Mewtwo? I just spent half a damn hour going in a straight line throwing puffballs to get the inferior version, Mew, to stay friggin' still for half a second. And it's never up close to me. I'd rather take a picture of those constellations in the sky.
Good to see you, gamers. Shep here again from Gaming Introspection. Today marks the first Pokemon-themed retrospective I've done. And what a bizarre game to start with, right?
Pokemon Snap was an obscure N64 title released in 1999 that I suspect was thrown together last minute to capitalize on the peak years of the initial Pokemon craze. It even shoehorned Todd, the lamest character that the anime had seen up until that point, in as the hero of the story, while Professor Oak acts as the tutorial character who also judges the quality of pictures of cute and cool-looking Pokemon.
Join me on Gaming Introspection as we examine all the hits and misses of Pokemon Snap.
It's apparent soon after you start Pokemon Snap and you see a psycho, demonic, two-headed bird dashing out of nowhere and meows trying to hunt Pidgeys for food. This photo tour isn't going to just be you taking lazy photos of Pokemon that stand motionless and pose in their 2D sprite designs from the Game Boy games.
Yeah, okay, that was a bad example.
But seriously, the animations come to life, and for 1999, the polygonal models were very convincing designs of children's beloved video game characters. The colors are saturated, the field of view is wide and open, and Pokemon are able to do different actions, as well as react to different distractions you provide, like playing a Poké-Flute, throwing apples or Pester Balls at Pokemon to see how they react, and more, which we'll examine as we go. The actual information of Pokédex entries and constructed lore come into play too. Vileplume exudes a vast mist of pollen that obscures this Cubone landmark. And when you use the Poké-Flute, it dances, which falls in line with the behavior of its Bellossom evolution. So it's cool to see this in action, possibly inspiring Bellossom, who didn't even exist yet. Jinx is another Pokemon that responds in lockstep with the Pokemon entry data, and it's cool seeing them hypnotically bob and weave in rhythm in order to hatch one of the legendary bird trios. Similarly, Snorlax wakes up when you play the flute, which is how you need to remove it from the root in the original Red and Blue Pokemon games. Okay, sorry, Fire Red and Leaf Green. Ugh. When you encounter Electabuzz, it's quite aggressive and ornery, getting in your way as you navigate through the cavern tunnels, falling down angrily when you pester it, and even trying to attack you with its thunderbolts later on in the stage. And this reflects its disturbed nature within its Indigo series highlight episode. Conversely, peaceful Pokemon are as good-natured as we expect, with Eevee joyfully playing with Chansey, a Pokemon that nurtures and heals. Jigglypuff is harassed by this coughing, who is represented in a villainous role, which drew cheers from the kids who were fans of the cartoon. And if you manage to save Jigglypuff, it'll sing for you, even with backup vocals if you can save both of them. And it'll puff up angrily if you interrupt it, just like the cartoon once again. Elemental and behavioral archetypes populate the courses. Geodude and Graveler cling to the cliff sides, displaying their blending behaviors in order to stay inconspicuous, while Sandslash digs underground before bursting up from it. In perhaps the most accurate and stunning example, Slowpoke evolves when its tail gets chomped on by a Shelder, though I still have no idea why the resulting shell looks nothing like the Shelder. It looked like this 1 second ago, and now suddenly it's a virtually inanimate spiral shell that has lost its freedom of movement and its own willpower.
What a tragic fate! That Shelder's life is basically over! Look at the luxurious lifestyle of a regular Shelder!
They are apparently free to exist, both surging through the refreshing current and also flying free through the endless expanse of sky, with other members of their crustacean clan called Cloyster clamoring constantly. What a blissful, fun life that would be. Perpetual excitement, making fun of anything and anyone with that hilariously oversized tongue. You throw it all away, and now you're a permanent ornament on the dullest, most brain-dead Pokemon in existence, who can't even bother to blink when rude bastards throw fruit at it. Why would you abandon such freedom for an eternity of imprisonment? It's not like the resulting Slowbro nourishes it in a symbiotic give and take relationship. It just sits there.
What the hell were we talking about? Authenticity! Authenticity, yeah, that's right.
So, rare Pokemon, they actually are tougher to find, just like they are in the main games. Dratini is rare enough as a dragon Pokemon, and very tough to get set in the frame just right. And it takes some experimenting to throw Pester Balls into a whirlpool a few times in order to summon a Dragonite. If you manage to photograph the elusive Staryu a few times and light up its core gemstone, it'll also use that whirlpool to show itself off as a brand new Starmie. And yet, some cruel treatment is needed, as for some reason, Professor Oak loves seeing Pokemon in distress, and sometimes even laughs at a Pokemon's peril or predicament. That Electabuzz just got blown up by an electrode, and I happened to get a picture of what was almost its last moments. Show it to the professor, and he's like, "Oh, it fainted! 800 points!" I knock out a cute, innocent Vulpix, unconscious with a Pester Ball, and Oak just loves it! Hundreds of pose points for that!
The photographer gets tons of credit and adoration for what was borderline animal abuse.
I didn't want to make it fall over in claps. I was told these Pester Balls would be useful for Pokemon that were hiding. It didn't warn me about all these what look like poisonous fumes or side effects on these poor creatures. Here's a poor Jigglypuff, slowly getting suffocated by toxins, helpless. And Oak's like, "Well, that's a shame, but here's 1,200 points." Magmar's convulsing on the hot, unforgiving lava ground, having a seizure, and Oak busts a gut. That's so funny. Come on, have a heart. In the same stage, I'm rewarded for hitting a Charmeleon in the same fashion. Yeah, can't get enough of Pokemon almost dying. What's worse, I smack it with an apple, knocking it into a molten crater of lava, which apparently makes it evolve into Charizard? Those apple foodstuffs are powerful. I give a Doduo a concussion with one, unceremoniously plunking it down to the ground. And Professor Oak, he's just delighted with me. Oh, it's about to wake up. It's as if he's trying to hide how much he loves seeing this poor thing look like roadkill, but the points prove how much he enjoys this pain. Look at the score difference between a healthy and unconscious bird.
Well, that was just cruel. Let's be better. Let's encourage kinship and kindness for all Pokemon. Oh, look at that! It's a Magmar and a Charmander. What a great opportunity! I'll toss some food towards them, and they can munch and enjoy it together happily, just enjoying each other's company. Enjoy the food, you cute fire Pokemon! I hope this paves the way for a wonderful friendship. Good Lord! A cute little Charmander just wanting a bit of a meal, and then Magmar burns it to hell! What? And then that brutal attack also results in the little fire Pokemon evolving? What kind of message is this to send to kids?
Hey, Pokemon fans! Throw whatever you can at these creatures. Hit them into pits, drown plants in mineral water, make them fight over resources, get them killing each other, and you will be amazed. And that's not what happens in any of the canon games or stories. If Magmar actually attacked a Charmander, well, that's it. It's all over. It doesn't evolve into the next form. Oh, maybe this isn't as authentic as I'd envisioned.
You know what benefits that authenticity we just covered? Something that really immerses the player in the journey? There's voice acting in Pokemon Snap. No joke. Almost every single one of the monsters is matched with their original voice actors from the Indigo League anime series, and most of them have different inflections or tones or quotes depending on the action that's occurring. Why has this not been done in any future Pokemon game? Snap is 25 years old, and it's still the only one that voices the Pokemon.
Pokemon Stadium was so hugely anticipated by the fan base. It came out less than a year later, and this was before the internet, so I was really excited to hear all of them cry out in emotional fury as they let loose in tournaments. The title screen itself says right there, voice compression technology by Factor 5. So I'm thinking, damn, they must have worked ridiculously hard to put all kinds of Pokemon battle cries in. You fire it up and...
Let's get started!
That's all we get. Yeah, all of that voice compression technology, its purpose was to stuff in some fuzzy, hard to hear, awful announcer voices that repeat over and over.
It's burrowed underground! It's burrowed underground!
Even Pikachu doesn't vocalize in Pokemon Stadium. Speaking of Pikachu, it's the only Pokemon that ever speaks up in any of the future games. Sword and Shield is a fairly recent entry, and they're still using the same damn beeps and buzzes they did on the Game Boy pretty much. A system that was released in 1989.
Almost before I was born. And I'm old! How hard is it to pay the original actors to say their one word over and over with a few different inflections and speeds?
The anime has continued to have Pokemon talk in this manner. So why not now? I realize we're up to about 1,000 different species now, and I'm not saying you need to voice every single one of them, but at least make an effort. It adds substantial amounts of charm when you hear the adorable, lazy, slow drawl of Slowpoke. Or the cute, high-pitched, happy squeak of Charmander. Reminding you of why you picked it over Bulbasaur or Squirtle in the first place.
It's astonishing how dated and lackluster Game Freak's efforts have been since Pokemon Snap. If we look at the credits, it clearly shows how many of the anime actors poured their souls into... What? And others? What kind of accreditation is that? What is that like? I know. That'd be like if you took the AVGN episodes and while you're watching it, it says produced by and starring some random guy instead of James Rolfe.
Why did Ikue Otani and a few other voice actors get voice credit, but no one else? Every other game with voice acting lists a full credit list, even those who do the most minor of roles. But here, in a game with almost equal parity of workload besides Otani, it's just, and others. Wow, maybe that's why the voice actors walked away from any future video game involvement. I would too. Professor Oak even has a few small one-liners.
Welcome back. See you. Wait! Here is a present for you.
And though it's used sparingly, again, it's still more than almost any other Pokemon game. The sequel, which is a very gorgeous game with a lot more variety, is still 25 years behind this ancient N64 game when it comes to Pokemon personality due to the lack of voices. You be the judge. Which of these genuinely feels the most Pokemon to you?
I rest my case.
You might argue the sequel sounds more realistic, as if you're actually within a real-life nature habitat.
Well, guess what? Pokemon is not realistic. It's a world that has little fire pigs running around and snorting flames out of their noses in order to roast apples to make them more delicious. A whole generation of us grew up on the standard that Pokemon communicate by saying their own name, using a variety of syllables and pitches. So keep it the same!
Since we're talking about the sequel and voice acting, I don't have the evidence here because I've already beaten the game, but the throwaway human characters in the sequel, which are about as appealing as a diseased Eradicate, are given fully voiced dialogue in the story cutscenes. And yet, when you go out into this lush world, all you hear are digitized beeps, farts, and growls. It's the ultimate piss-off! No one cares that these pubescent kids are excited to explore, or that Todd Snap, yes, that is his actual name, Todd Snap, finally aged into a 20-year-old after 22 years and speaks actual words.
Nice.
The Pokemon are the stars! But the lack of attention to their audio quality would make people think otherwise. There's only 7 main stages in Pokemon Snap, but a run never finishes with you taking the exact same picture twice. Due to the constant motion of your vehicle, combined with the action of almost all of the Pokemon, every attempt is challenging because the assessment is very stringent, judging how well you execute your shots based on 3 main areas. The first thing you need to do is get the Pokemon close to the middle of the frame. This is crucial. If it's even slightly off-center, sometimes that oak prick will just forfeit the rest of your score, even if your monster was doing the cutest or rarest thing imaginable. So you damn well better make sure it's centered. Next, you'll be awarded many different bonuses based on the actions of the Pokemon as I just mentioned. Pikachu's cuteness, yeah, it'll always get you points for its poses. But if you make it jump onto these tree stumps, or save it from this Zubat so it magically, spawns some balloons and floats, then you'll get tons of more points. Meowth is funny and gives you some good totals on its own, but try and give it a concussion and piss it off, and you'll get a lot more. Or make it dance, like on the anime series, to give it even more points using the Poke Flute. There's actually a lot of different animations and behaviors for each monster. Check out Bulbasaur's genuine joy when feeding it the apple. That's gotta warm the coldest of hearts out there. But it can get pelted by pester balls and show annoyance too. If you try out new things on the stages, you're usually rewarded. If you want more Charmander power, send out an apple, it'll call over its friends for a feast, and you can get bonus points for having multiple Charmander in the same shot, which is a feature you can use with multiple Pokemon, especially those who are naturally found in clusters, like Kakuna and Metapods. Metapods are another example of where pester balls come in handy, giving you a much better quality shot when they investigate your harassment. Throw that same ball into these erupting craters to make Growlithe appear. And if you can get all of them, it summons the impressive Arcanine to give you an amazingly cool shot. The Pokéflute even has multiple songs, which result in different dances for Pokemon that react to it. Even Magnemite react to the flute, giving you a rare moment to snap them before they go blurry on you. Late in the game, Oak gives you a kind of turbo engine that lets you drive your vehicle twice as fast, and this mixes things up a lot. Kakunas naturally fall down and rise back up in the cavern, so haul ass with your booster so you can get there just as they descend for the best quality shot with tons of other Kakuna close up in the frame. You can get to locations before events normally happen, giving you a totally different angle for shots. On this course with the Squirtle, you can quickly zip close to them and herd them onto the shore for a group shot. These Squirtle reactions are the best. If you ever wanted to see what a Pokemon would look like if they consumed a bit too much bubbly, well, there you go. Must be some addicting stuff in that water, eh? Haha, just kidding. But it does give that impression. It can backfire though. If you go too fast, you'll miss events completely. Meowth gets attacked by Pidgey here in a cool battle sequence, but if you turbo through, it's just standing there. The apple food, the pester balls, the Pokéflute, the engine, you're given these things gradually, which means you get multiple runs of each of the courses with a whole new approach to it. And it really does change quite a bit as you find those rarer, elusive Pokemon and get fun new reactions from the ones you've already found. You may have gotten used to exactly where the Pokemon routes are after multiple run-throughs, but when you adjust your speed continuously with the turbo engine, it throws a lot of that out the window. Like here, let's abuse that poor Doduo again, using our turbo to get right up close. I can't believe how Oak pretended to be. Oh! What? He's completely shameless now! Look at that! Oh, you hit him! 1,300 points! This man should be stripped of his title! How can a Pokemon researcher find this much joy in Pokemon's pain? Chop Oak down!
Well done.
My God! Another feature that increases the game's replay value is the album.
In a game like Pokemon Snap, you want your best or rarest photos to be remembered. The most iconic photographs of all time are deemed so because they have that impact on the viewer.
Pokemon Snap dove into the N64's meager memory reserves and carved out just enough space to give players a primitive virtual photo album. You could not only view your cherished photos from days gone by, you could caption them with wholesome and nostalgic memoirs, or you could make it a bit more evil and caustic, representing the more violent moments of natural Pokemon life with crudeness and a dose of hilarity. Either way, your favorite memories could be immortalized. The business side of Pokemon also exploited the craving for gamers to not only keep physical copies of their best photos, but share them with friends. From November of 1999 through 2000, Blockbuster stores across North America were equipped with Pokemon Snap kiosks that enabled gamers to print out postage stamp-sized, full-color printouts for about $3 a sheet.
You could store your printouts in an actual photo album if you wanted to, or you could swap them and share them with friends, all while giving Nintendo a few extra $1 million! It was win-win! Well, sort of.
It can be addicting to try and revisit your favorite Pokemon actions and poses, adjusting your timing and angles just enough to get it perfect. Especially ones like Haunter, who you can't even discern where its face is precisely until after the fact. Luckily, there's a handy retry feature, which is especially useful if you fail to get the shot or Pokemon you want, getting you back to the start quickly. If you capture your desired moment, you can end your run immediately so you can get your pictures evaluated. So it's very user-friendly, cutting out some dead repetition time as you go for the bonus missions, like finding the Pokemon signs in each course. Much like the core games, this was made to be very addictive, to make you try just one more time.
Well done.
The Pokemon here are portrayed in such a thoughtful and fan-appeasing light. They're crude, early 3D polygonal models now, but it's remarkable how much they still pop on the screen, even playing this game today. The controls are smooth, it's intuitive, and gives you multiple reasons to go back. I recommend it on the Switch if you're interested.
However, things weren't picture perfect, even back then. There were just as many failures that kept Pokemon Snap from being the best there ever was. Here's where we detach the rose-colored lens from our cameras and replace it with something much more critical to see where this game really missed its mark.
So, to make this miss as clear as I can, I'll start my analysis on this first level with my turbo engine activated, just so I can prove to you how lickety-split these stages are. Although you can approach them in varied ways, as the hit I delved into earlier explains, the fact is that the sights and sounds are going to get very repetitive very quickly. Repetitive very quickly. Yes, very quickly repetitive. Despite the locations and specific animations you encounter always varying, the Pokemon roster is 95% set, no matter how many times you go through the stages, with the only surprises being when you have the items to make it work, like that Snorlax you can awaken with a Pester Ball or the Pokeflute, and the Scyther you have to annoy out of the tall overgrowth in order to hear it shriek in rage. What's even worse is that there's some dead zones in each stage that have very little or even nothing for you to photograph. If the stages are already over in a flash, why would you put in parts where there's no Pokemon? Look at this! It's just boring. And these segments don't change despite your increased equipment later on. There, you see, that took, well, you can see the time right there. That's about the standard length for all 7 areas in Pokemon Snap. In fact, I honestly captured all of my footage for this episode during a 5-hour stint of just going through the game naturally, not using any save states or aids like that either. The only obstacles that bar a player's progress are insultingly easy puzzles that pretty much present the solution to you right away, so you know for next time. And of those, the only one that gave me pause was the Valley stage. You learn at the opening that Pester Balls can launch Squirtle out of the water. Transfer that knowledge to this situation, setting the Squirtle off, which then dumps the Mankey off of the hilltop where he proceeds to unlock the new area once you send him ass over Tea Kettle. The rest are just like, throw a ball by this obviously camouflaged Pokemon that's right by this switch. Another thing that can cut your fun short is the paltry 60 picture limit on your roll of film.
Now, this was before digital cameras, so I kinda get why the limit exists, but if you were an avid explorer and you're on a faraway journey, wouldn't you take more than a 60-roll thing of film with you, regardless of the topic that you were capturing?
Especially when going for the perfect shot, you can spend dozens of photos attempting to get one Pokemon. And when you run out, that's simply it. You're out of film and done. If you had at least 100, you could go for the big moments of each course, because there's a few standouts spread along the way without having to restart and do the boring parts over again. You can only choose one picture of each Pokemon to show the professor, so it's not like the unlimited pictures would help you that much. It wouldn't be much of a cheat. There's a bit of padding that exists to unlock the secret course, but it's either embarrassingly easy or vehemently frustrating, in that you have to discover 50 unique species of Pokemon to get that final regular stage open. And then, Oak tells you to go find all these obscure images that resemble Pokemon, which somehow then creates constellations of each of them in the sky, which is why the final stage is a rainbow road in outer space. And this rainbow stage? Let's talk about how boring and wasteful it is. Mew is the rare Pokemon you're trying to photograph, and it randomly shows up in this glowing psychic force field. First of all, they totally blew this surprise in the opening 30 seconds. This cinema scene with that awful Todd character sets the tone nicely. This Pokemon appears, and he fumbles around like a total noob, failing miserably to capture it. But we all know what it is. It's almost as bad as the cartoon.
You gamers all remember that "Who's That Pokemon?" segment of the show, right? Well, it was so bad, it insulted the intelligence of preschoolers. Oh, damn. Look at how fat Pikachu's original design was.
It's even worse than his model in Super Smash Bros. Check that out if you want to laugh at obese rodent designs. Anyway, back to Mew's stage. When you try and get its picture, it just glows with energy and you can't even get your photo scored. So that's lame already. But then you discover the only way to pierce through this omnipotent, psychic Pokemon barrier is by throwing a pester ball at it. Do it enough times, and the shield changes colors, and eventually you break Mew out of its shield temporarily, and it floats along, catching up with it while you take pictures of its ass and tail. The best shot I can get is a long-distance blur of it looking over its shoulder at the patheticness of this prepubescent kid fumbling around with his camera. It's a brutal score, only saved by the fact that this Pokemon is so rare, I immediately get thousands of bonus points. Yes, you can improve your score by relentlessly chucking a barrage of pester balls at it to make it spin around and look up at you, giving you that split second to do a picture-perfect pose, but that's as deep as this goes. All of your other tools and strategies you've experimented with in a plethora of different stages, resulting in many different results, mean absolutely nothing now. It's all like, chuck the pester balls until you can finally make it stay still for a second. That's not creative. You can take your 10,000 points. I'd rather have 10,000 less points and even 10 extra Pokemon to photograph, which brings me to a new miss we'll examine shortly. When it comes to Mew though, that's it. It's the only Pokemon in this stage. A stage that has no terrain changes, no twists or even gentle turns whatsoever. Mew doesn't change its behavior, so there's no variety. It's honestly more fun to just ignore Mew and take in the colorful constellations of the Pokemon you wished were actually part of the game. Why doesn't Mewtwo's constellation explode with energy, manifesting the evil psychic Pokemon on this previously picturesque and peaceful rainbow to do battle with its nemesis Mew? Like in the first Pokemon movie, you'd have more sweet voice acting and psychic explosions, faces being contorted in pain as the psychic cats subdue each other with energy projectiles. That would have made for some legendary photos, but Nope, no homages or winks at any other rare legendaries. I mean, this would have been a perfect place to put a constellation of Ho-Oh in. Like when Ash saw it at the start of the anime. It even fits into the rainbow theme. But nope, nothing. You can't even use your turbo booster to get it over with. It does nothing. Not that it's any longer than any of the other stages. You chase Mew in this fashion for a couple minutes, go through the gate, and that's the unimpressive, woefully boring end to what until then had been a very fun and engrossing Pokemon game.
It's done in like 5 hours, and the last moments you spend with it are some of the most frustrating and tedious in the entire game, and that in turn dissuades you from diving back into it. And that is not the sign of a good game.
As stated, the rubric Professor Oak uses for your pictures has several key requirements, and on the surface, it looks both fair and well structured. But man, sometimes you wonder if the old guy's losing his eyesight with how embarrassingly wrong his comments are. Look at this Bulbasaur photo, for example.
Oh yes, what a happy face!
Are you flippin' kidding me?
It's a close-up of Bulbasaur's ass. You can't even see its face. How did I get a good score on that? Other times, he correctly states that Pokemon hate to be photographed from behind. So what's the deal here? Sometimes the pose scores are really inconsistent, and it doesn't tell you why you got a higher score or what the difference in the Pokemon stance was. Is this pose really that much better than that one? I guess it is, because personal preference? Even when the descriptives match, sometimes the pose score is different. Look at Zubat. It doesn't even have a face or eyes. Its mouth is always open and it's constantly flying. It only has one pose. And yet somehow my pose score is 200 points better on this one than that one. Size, too, is sometimes baffling. I have this Snorlax photo I'm pretty proud of. Its body language and stretching action looks pretty dope to me, but apparently the size is not good, simply because I didn't get the entirety of this bloated bear in the shot.
How? How am I supposed to get the entire thing in there?
The freaking thing is 15 feet tall and over 1,000 pounds! Yes, I know the Pokédex says it's 6'11". Well, if that's 6'11", this kid Todd is smaller than the smallest fantasy dwarf that was diagnosed with dwarfism. It doesn't even show its feet anyway. Instead, I take this wider angle shot, which to me isn't as good, but I have to try and appease the professor. I briefly mentioned the nitpickiness over how centered the photos need to be, but it crops up time and time again. There's photos you'd think would be awesome, but he just needs it that half an inch higher, lower, or to the side. And it really sucks that as soon as he deems it not centered, you don't get your score doubled, which means regardless of how amazing your size and how rare the pose was, you're going to end up with an underwhelming total. Why is this centering thing worth double as much as anything else? Especially when it's so finicky as to how centered it has to be. If we look back at the Zubat photo from before, I think it's awesome, but Oak? He sees that the entire body isn't there and decides it's not centered. I'd say that's pretty damn close as I could get for how close up it was. Would you have scored these two Zubat pictures the same way? I bet not. It's all a guessing game. Guess which of these is centered and which isn't. Here's Poliwag. Is it centered? Of course not. Are you serious? Wow, come on, do better. Take a look at Weepinbell. Centered or not? Duh, of course it is. It's perfect. Gaze at Cloyster and tell me whether you deem it centered. Weren't you paying attention? It's flawless. And finally, we have Mew, or Mew's ass. Is that ass in the center of it all? No, not even close. How could you even think otherwise? This is just out of control. If any single one of your aspects are not up to snuff, the rest of the score is cancelled. Here, I didn't get the Pokemon big enough in frame, so he says, "You were close."
You were close.
And then doesn't even take a good look at it. Not a good pose. You were close.
You were close.
The poor 7-year-olds who played this game probably threw tantrums, appalled at what a horribly strict drill sergeant the professor becomes. Come on! You manually need to choose a single photo per Pokemon for Oak to grade after your run is done. And so you agonize over it, because it likely won't be the one that clearly looks the best. It'll be the one that you think might adhere to his cryptically inconsistent standards. And at times, it's just a crapshoot whether he'll like it or not. So if there's one you think looks awesome, you better save it to the album, because any picture that doesn't get a high score is lost forever. This Poliwag shot looks mint though. It's just about to leap into the river. I've got a clear shot of its belly spiral. It should be a high score.
Wait.
Of course, not perfectly centered. You know what picture did get a good score? It was this. A very bland photo of Poliwag leaping from the river. You can't see its spiral, even its face. But the professor's like, "Ooh, what a jump!" and gives me over 1,000 points for it.
Well done.
Sometimes he doesn't even acknowledge that you have a picture of a Pokemon if it's with another Pokemon. Here, I'm trying to get one of the rarest photos of all. Pikachu riding on top of an Articuno. That's like once in a blue moon, right? And it's a process to undertake. You have to miraculously throw apples at a Zubat to spawn those rare balloons we saw that allows Pikachu to descend, and then use your Pokeflute to make the Jinx dance that makes Articuno hatch to make it fly, and do it fast enough so that they're able to catch up to you before you exit the stage.
Oh, frick! Focus, damn you! No, Articuno, I don't want Articuno as the focus. I need Pikachu in there. Wow, how dumb does that sound? Get your legendary sparkles and icy effects out of the way, Articuno. I'm trying to get this ugly, diseased rat in the frame. Ah, come on. There we go. Yeah. Ah, ha ha! Damn, that was difficult. What? No, that's bullcrap. I got Pikachu. The camera itself identified it, but it didn't count apparently. Let's try again. Ah, snap, snap, snap. God. Snap, snap, that sound effect is so loud. That's Pikachu for sure. There he is. Oh, work it, you rat. Haha, yeah, I did it. Booyah! Woo! And now it's time to reap the rewards, because the rarity of this is just unreal.
You were close.
The game has told me that a pristine, rare, close-up photograph of Pikachu riding on top of an Articuno is worth less than a Magikarp. Let that sink in. Why is the bonus not higher? It's almost more worthwhile to tie some balloons to a rat. Why? Oh my God, it's unfair. That is the long and short of it. Here's what gets me. They obviously created this game as a way for kids to get obsessed with Pokemon and spend oodles of money on the franchise. So why are there so many no-shows?
The first generation was 151 Pokemon strong, and yet they only put in 63, plus a few cameo appearances with signs. And even if we include that, it's only 68 Pokemon. Still less than half of the roster. And there's some criminal omissions here too. Where's Mr. Mime? The most annoying Pokemon to be sure, but that's what makes him hilariously awesome. No Ekans or Arbok, which was quite popular as Jessie's Pokemon of choice from the anime. The only starting Pokemon whose full evolutionary line is featured is Charmander. Squirtle and Bulbasaur don't have any of their evolutions present throughout the entire game, and Blastoise in particular was among the most popular Pokemon of the first generation.
Blastoise!
There's tons of water in the stages too, so this is even more unbelievable. For all the H2O that there is, a lot of aquatic Pokemon are missing. No Tentacool or Tentacruel, no Horsey or Seadra. It's stunning. Instead, we get Magikarp, 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 and Magikarp.
No one likes Magikarp, but it's in every damn stage!
Instead of Blastoise's amazing water cannon popularity, we get ugly poison blobs like Grimer, which evolves into Muck by throwing a Pester Ball at it 3 times. This is one of the toughest Pokemon to find in the entire game, and it's just a poisonous blob! If you throw the Pester Ball at it once or twice, you don't get any reaction. So you think that's all there is. And it's all just to get an even bigger sack of crap that gives you the finger?
Look, it's flipping the bird to the world in general. Ban the game, alert the authorities, confiscate all copies of Pokemon Snap, is what some hypersensitive and overbearing adults might say.
I know, Muck's just doing what Muck does, but that's kind of funny. Anyway, there's no Aerodactyl, not any of the fossilized Pokemon, which I honestly expected to find in this cave area. It's perfect for ones like Kabutops and Omastar. You tease fans with Eevee, and then have none of its many times more amazing evolutions, like Flareon, Jolteon, or Vaporeon?
Oh, what do you know, Shep? They need the elemental stones to evolve. Yeah, that's true. And you know what?
So does Starmie! But all you needed to do for that to happen was flatter Staryu with promises of fame and glory by taking its picture. It likes that so much that it dips itself into a whirlpool and completely changes forms. Charmander and Charmeleon apparently both evolve by getting killed! And you drown Weepinbell to force it into a Victory Bell. Don't need no Leaf Stone.
So, that elemental stone nonsense can just get thrown out the window.
Fighting Pokemon completely get shafted. I'm not sure if there's one of them in the entire game. No Hitmonchan or Hitmonlee. Machop's entire evolution strain doesn't make an appearance. Even in the sequel, they relegate it to Machamp standing stranded in the middle of the ocean. Both Nidoran groups, male and female, have no representation. Not any of these 6 forms. Where's Onix? There's an entire rock cave and valley. It could have been shown here tearing down the cliffside, or in a fight with some Sandshrew or something. What do you think is the most egregious cut they made to Pokemon Snap's roster? Let me know in the comments. This miss kind of ties into the "it's too short" one. None of the courses are particularly complex or multi-layered. You basically drive your reject Star Trek vehicle in a straight line from point A to point B. They could have easily doubled the stage count without reusing too many environments, and that would have made room for the other half of the pocket monsters. Where's the forest stage? Where's the ice mountain stage? The flat grassland? Where's a simple trolling around the ocean? As you can tell, these are the kinds of ideas that were better utilized in the sequel, allowing for a deeper investigation of Pokemon habitats. It's not afraid to go into water or ocean locations 3, 4, even 5 times over in order to give players a better palette of Pokemon. And if the technological limitations were too much for the N64 to handle in storing all that extra information, they could have taken another route, which the sequel also has, giving a nighttime version of the same course. And it makes it completely different. Pokemon behave in totally unique ways. Some are absent entirely, or sleeping during the night, while naturally nocturnal ones surprise players with their presence. Even in the early days of Pokemon, there were species that could have really benefited from the nighttime setting. Put Rattatas or Raticates sneaking through the grass in the beach stage, with a hard-to-spot Tangela hiding in fear as an Ekans stalks Pokemon from within the grass. Spot a Cubone howling at a moonlit sky in sorrow in the mountains. It would give a much better emotional impact than this constellation. Have Clefable or Clefairy clustering around some gems in the cave, like they do at Mount Moon in the anime. You could even exchange some water Pokemon with other variants during a nighttime run of the course. Just put them in the same areas. The animations and voice differences would be enough. So many missed opportunities here. The Pokemon here are portrayed in such a thoughtful and fan-appeasing light. They're crude, early 3D polygonal models now, but it's remarkable how much they still pop on the screen, even playing this game today. The controls are smooth, it's intuitive, and gives you multiple reasons to go back. I recommend it on the Switch if you're interested. Just be prepared for the shock when you have the game beaten within a few hours, loathing at the fact that Mew's ass was apparently the big finale that the developers built up for the completionists who did all of the fetch quests and sign finding and repetition necessary to open this poor excuse for a final stage.
However, the fond memories definitely overtake the rotten ones in this look back, and that is a good feeling. But it's all just my opinion. What hits did I miss? And what misses should I have hit? Let me know in the comments. And please join me next time for the final main episode in this first season. Have a great spring, gamers! Take care.